It's Mother's Day weekend if you're listening to us on a Saturday morning, or you're still okay if you're listening to us via podcast on Sunday. But if you're listening to the Carolina Outdoors on Monday or later, it's too late. So
You missed it.
So you did miss it. But hey, it's an opportunity for us to talk about moms. For many people, mothers help lead them into the realm of the outdoors. For many, it was their dad, maybe a granddad, maybe an uncle, maybe a scout leader or something like that. Did help introduce you to whatever your outdoor pursuit is. And the pursuits that are available outdoors are many, from hunting to fishing to hiking to biking to spelunking to skydiving. Wes, you named any of that stuff, and it counts.
You know, you're right. Especially if mom took you spelunking. If you went caving with your mother, fantastic. It might have been a lot of animals, flora, fauna, gardening. We all have stories to tell.
Exactly. So I wanted to tell one of my stories. Before I do, Bill Barty, Wes Lawson, if you're just joining us here, we are the outdoor guys from Jesse Brown's here on the Carolina Outdoors. And I wanted to tell you about my introduction really to the sport of hiking. Now, many of you who listen to the Carolina Outdoors for years have heard this story, but I oftentimes like to tell it during Mother's Day or around Mother's Day, and it was one of my early memories of my mother and I, and there was one other lady who went for a hike. So I'm from Clover, grew up in Clover, South Carolina, and just outside of Clover, right on the state line, is a state park called Kings Mountain State Park. It is open for any of you listeners out there, so you can head down to Kings Mountain State Park. A lot of history, Revolutionary War history, battles took place there. The state park butts up next to the Kings Mountain National Military Park, which is a memorial park which does celebrate the battle that took place there back during the Revolutionary War. But the reason we were there was it was nearby our home, and it was a beautiful, nice place to go for a hike, a walk, if you will. I don't remember what month it was. I don't really remember what year it was. My guess is I would be about 5 years old, and maybe I learned a little bit about life, and I learned a little bit about parenting from this episode. So we, three of us, went on a hike. Of course, I'm a young child. Let's just guess I'm 5 years old, and we are hiking. And during the hike, the topic of something we needed to go do afterwards came up. And it was something that I did not want to do. I don't know if it was go do something at the church or go visit somebody at the nursing home. They weren't assisted living back then. They were nursing homes.
Yep.
I didn't like going to those places, but we had friends there. My mom was good. She liked to go visit. I did not want to go visit. Something like that came up. In the middle of the hike, essentially, at Kings Mountain State Park. So what did I do? I did, number one, the rule that you're not supposed to do. It's a word they call bushwhacking or going off trail. And I went off trail. And I kept going off trail. And I went probably 100 yards or more off of this trail at the age of 5. And of course, my mother, I know everyone out there listening to the Carolina Outdoors right now knows that my mother pursued me and soothed me and gave in to my demands of not going to do whatever she had signed up to go do after the hike. No, that is not what my mother did. My mother kept hiking, and I got into the woods and promptly got lost. So this is my earliest remembrance of going on a hike with my mother, Kings Mountain State Park, and I am lost. And I don't know how long I was lost, if it was 5, 10, 15, 30, an hour, minutes, who knows. but I knew my mother wasn't there and I was lost. She knew I would come back out, as she tells the story now. But she does admit that I was gone longer than she thought, and she went and sat at the ranger station. And she did mention to the ranger who was on duty, again back in 1975, that my son went off the trail back there and he's lost. I can remember stumbling around in the woods, seeking the trail, making up cuss words, and I do remember making up cuss words. So that's how those things get invented, if you want to know. Finally, after who knows how long, I found the paved trail at Kings Mountain. That might be even the military park, because they are connected. Mm-hmm. The ranger who was on duty never said a word to me. When I stumbled out on the trail with my clothes in tatters, my hair ruffled and rustled and all over, twigs hanging from my ears and scratches on my face from running through the woods looking for the trail, all he did, and this is a man in uniform, full uniform, wearing his ranger hat and everything, the state park superintendent himself, all he did was turn around and start walking. Of course, I'm a 5-year-old child. I did have some pride back then, so I was embarrassed, and all I did was follow. I followed him at about 20 feet behind this ranger and made my way back the 1.5 miles back to where my mother was sitting eating ice cream too. I remember that part. She was chilling, literally. But I still remember her sitting there. And the things the lessons I learned from all that is you don't have to say a word in order to have someone follow you. I learned that from that ranger. I also learned sometimes lessons can be learned without the parent saying anything either, just leaving you to figure it out for yourself. In Wes Lawson, outdoor guy from Jesse Brown's, I learned both those lessons at that young age, and it still imprinted me. My mother would say, you know what, I didn't know, maybe that warped you, that experience, but I can remember it like it was yesterday.
Well, you know, she taught another lesson too. She figured you might not come back, so she had 3 more boys just in case.
True, that is true. I don't know how I ended up being the only child on that trip, but I do have three younger brothers came after, but I don't know if she ever left them. Actually, you know what? There are some other stories too of those guys getting left. So there's an MO there.
She was teaching you independence.
Well, that's my salute during this Mother's Day weekend. Of course, now we are at Wes and I both. We are at Jesse Brown's promoting you being in the outdoors. We don't necessarily know if you need to leave your children out in the middle of the woods for them to learn lessons, but the other lesson is stay on the trail.
Stay on the trail. If you are going to leave your kids in the woods, maybe let's do it with a group of youth camp professionals
True.
who will teach them the skills to be adept in that environment and others.
Very true. The voice there, Wes Lawson. I'm Bill Barty. We're the outdoor guys here from Jesse Brown's on the Carolina Outdoors, talking to you during this Mother's Day weekend. Wes, Mother's Day is a big deal at Jesse Brown's.
It sure is.
Part of it is because of we have some sports that we are promoting at Jesse Brown's. Oftentimes, I do invite you all to check us out on Facebook. Like, follow, comment, participate with us on Facebook. Wes has been bringing, Wes and I both, but Wes has taken the lead in product presentations via Facebook Live. So during the shutdown that we had, the stay-at-home order from the state, Jesse Brown's was still open. We were open via Facebook, our online presence, as well as the phone lines. But Wes, you brought a lot of Mother's Day-centric items to our Jesse Brown's fans and public via Facebook Live over the past couple of weeks.
You know, one of the things that became apparent during this pandemic was that getting gifts was going to be difficult. And there are certain times when we all need a little extra help. And I think holiday shopping, we tend to wait till the last minute in a lot of cases. And when there's a difficulty getting product, it's important to present them early. So about 10 days ago, we started bringing product, maybe even a little bit longer than 14 days ago, Mother's Day gift ideas from, light hike shoes to wear for, neighborhood and local park outings to attractive pattern and color sun shirts that look good but keep you feeling good and healthy, to Kavu rope sling bags, fly fishing items, things that help promote the outdoors and activity while also keeping us protected and looking good. One of the things when we talk about shoes, even with some of the biggest boots we sell, at some point somebody says, it still looks cute.
They do, especially a mom.
So it's important that you feel good, that you're supported properly, but that you still look good or cute. Not my words, your words, everybody.
That is right. Words of wisdom for sure. We want to come back and talk more about that too, because there are a couple of sports you mentioned. What those products, let me back up. You mentioned a couple of products that represent sports that are important to moms, whether it be a Mother's Day weekend or not. So in a latter segment, I want to come back and talk about hikes and fly fishing and what that means to your mom. We're the Outdoor Guys. We're going to take a quick break and come back and talk a little bit of art. Believe it or not, art and soap. You're listening to the Carolina Outdoors via Jesse Brown's Outdoors on WBT.